So now let's move on to the discussion about the Ras Leela as it is described in the Vrindavana Champu. So we need to discuss it at one level because it is a distinctive revelation of our tradition, and it is where all beauty, art, music, dance, they have their highest manifestation. It's from there that everything descends downwards. This is like the best among the real mangoes, and everything else is different mangoes. Now, and I said it's not exactly like a reflectionist because no metaphor can describe the nature of reality, the world as compared to the spiritual world completely. Every metaphor is an indicator. So it's not that the relationships in this world are completely false. There is some pleasure in the relationship. There is some love in the relationships, but it is very small. Dhruv Maharaj's mother tells him that the amount of love that Lord Vishnu can offer you is million times more than what I can offer. So that means her love is not, she's not saying it's zero. 0 into million would still be 0. Her love is small. It's like a drop. Although she's offering all the love she's capable of offering, but still it is small. And the love of Lord Vishnu is like an ocean. So we want to move from the reflection to the reality. We want to move from the drop toward the ocean. That is what the hearing of the Ras Leela and understanding it with proper philosophical contextualization, then we'll be able to do that. So here, let's discuss. The point which we had come to was the gopis have come to the come out, and they've come to the forest, and they are with Krishna. And at that time, Krishna says, "You come here, you have seen this, now you please return." And the gopis say, "How can we return? We have come here to be with you." They have very sweet play of words, after which they refute everything that Krishna is saying, and Krishna says that they are really intent to be here. In the last session, I discussed about how the gopis, in one sense, divine disobedience is what endears them to Krishna. Now, after that, so then they start performing the Ras Leela. And now in the Ras Leela, something extraordinary happens. Kalvenu Ravavasya Gopavadhu Shatakoti Vritat Smara Koti Samat Prativallavika Bhimatat Sukhadat. So he says that Prativallavika Bhimatat Sukhadat, that the Lord, as is seeing each gopi is coming one by one, and each gopi is feeling as if Krishna is looking only at me. There are countless numbers of gopis, but all of them are feeling Krishna is reciprocating personally with me. And that's how they feel extremely enlivened, extremely delighted, extremely enriched. And then not only that, Krishna, after that, personally expands to perform the Ras Leela with each one of them. He expands. Krishna has that capacity, and that this at one level, the Ras Leela, it is a very exalted pastime, and we are discussing in Vrindavana Champu from that perspective of exalted pastime. But at the same time, the Ras Leela also has reflections with how we live in the world.
Oh, are you sharing the screen?
Okay. Sorry, not sharing. Did you change something?
No, nothing.
I don't see any place to share the screen now. Did you take away the facility for sharing?
No. You are the co-host, Prabhu. You should be able to share.
Okay, now is it proceeding? Okay. So I was mentioning this point that everything in this world is so at this point the gopis come and they start dancing. So I was talking about how the Ras Leela. So Ras Leela is at one time very confidential, but at another level it's both confidential and universal. Universal means at one level it demonstrates confidential reciprocations of love between the gopis and Krishna. That is confidentiality, very intimate, loving dealings. But along with that, what is the universal dimension of it? See, Krishna as Paramatma is there with each one of us. Just as Krishna was dancing with each one of the gopis, Krishna as the Paramatma is there with each one of us. Now, of course, our consciousness is not tuned, so we don't perceive Krishna, but he's there with each one of us. And then, as all the gopis start dancing, now what happens is that they are so caught in dancing with Krishna, they're so delighted that they're dancing with Krishna, that they become completely devotionally intoxicated by that. And each gopi starts thinking that I am so fortunate that Krishna is with me. I'm so fortunate, I'm so blessed. But there is a very thin line between appreciating fortune and becoming proud. We should always appreciate our fortune. So if we have more wealth than others, if we have more intelligence than others, if we have better looks than others, if we have certain abilities more than others, whatever it is, we need to appreciate our fortune, what we have been given, what we have, that is to be appreciated. So what happens is gopis are appreciating their fortune. But while we are appreciating our fortune, it's very easy either to come off as proud or to become proud. That means, so what is the difference essentially between fortune and pride? When we use the word fortune, we acknowledge that whatever I have, it doesn't entirely belong to me. It has come to me by factors beyond me. And in that sense, that acknowledgement brings humility. So, whereas pride means, because I have this, I am superior to others. That time we think that I'm entitled to this, I have this, and therefore it makes me superior to others. So the first brings humility, and the second takes away humility. So that's the key difference. So the gopis are appreciating their fortune, that they are there with them. But it appears that while they're appreciating their fortune, they start thinking that no other women are like this. Among all the women in the universe, Krishna is only with us. And each gopi is thinking Krishna is only with me. So thinking like this, when they start thinking like this, Krishna includes that. Krishna is Antaratmadrik. Krishna is present in the hearts of every single living being. And Krishna sees that. And Krishna feels that they have become proud. And Krishna leaves them and goes away. So when Krishna leaves them and goes away, at that time, the gopis are devastated. And then they notice that actually there is one gopi who is missing. And as they start looking around, all the gopis become like transcendental detectives. They're searching for clues. Where has Krishna gone? And they start looking for the footprints of Krishna. And they look at the footmarks. They say there are two sets of footmarks. There is one footprint of Krishna and there is one footprint of one gopi. And who is the special gopi? And then they start searching for them. They keep searching. And then they finally find that gopi is lying unconscious. That gopi is lying unconscious, and Krishna has left her also. So now the understanding is that special gopi is Radharani. And that Radharani also eventually becomes proud when she sees that Krishna has left all the gopis and is only with me. How special am I? And that seeing that pride, Krishna leaves on Radharani also. So now there are external reasons and there are internal reasons for things happening. This is quite a common, philosophical multi-level analysis, which is typical of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. So we know there are external reasons for the appearance of Lord Chaitanya and internal reasons also. So there is the external reason why Krishna leaves, and there's the internal reason why Krishna leaves. So the external reason is pride. And the internal reason actually is service attitude. Now we say, what is the service attitude over here that could make Krishna leave a devotee? If a devotee has service attitude, won't Krishna want to be with that devotee? So how can service attitude drive a devotee away? That is the esoteric revelation given in Ananda Vrindavana Champu. So what AVC does is, it gives us a glimpse, AVC Ananda Champu, it gives us a glimpse into the, or a glimpse of picture and peek into the hearts of the devotees, hearts of the gopis over here, and of Radharani. So what happens is, here Kavi Karnapura describes the gopis are thinking, oh, Krishna is with all of us and we are all so fortunate that Krishna is dancing with us. But we all know that among all of us, Radharani's love is unparalleled. Although we all love Krishna, her love for Krishna is far more than our love for it. And therefore they feel that this, in the last Leela, Radharani should have a special place. Radharani should have a special position. And if she is just one among the many gopis with whom Krishna is dancing, then her special position will be lost. And therefore, the gopis act as if they are proud. They act as if they are proud so that Krishna will leave them and go away, and Krishna will go with Radharani. So it is their service attitude. What is the service attitude? They want to glorify the distinct position of Radharani. And that is why they leave. And they leave and go away. And when they leave and go away, at that time what happens is that Radharani initially is very, very happy. Krishna is only with me. But then Radharani starts thinking, how can I be so selfish? What will be the plight of my Sakhis? That Krishna has left them and Krishna has gone away, that will leave my Sakhis heartbroken. We start thinking that when they are heartbroken like that, how can I be happy? How can I enjoy alone? So how can I enjoy alone like this? So therefore she slows down. So Krishna is taking Radharani deep into the forest. And at that time, Radharani decides to slow down. Radharani makes various pretexts. Krishna, can we get that flower? And that flower is high up. So what happens is, Krishna has to stretch. And somehow Krishna stretches and gets the high up flower. Then Radharani moves forward and Radharani says, Radharani still wants to slow things down. So then Radharani says, Krishna, that flower is so beautiful, can you get that? And that is so high up that Krishna by stretching cannot reach it. So Radharani is thinking, well, this will slow Krishna down. But then what happens? Krishna says, okay, how will we get it? So Krishna says, Radharani, I will lift you up. And he lifts Radharani up. And that's where later on the gopis see, though these two footprints have become one, and that one footprint has become deep. That is, Krishna lifted Radharani. Now, why is Radharani? It's not that Radharani is like demanding, I want this flower, I want that flower. It may seem like that, but actually, it's not that Radharani is demanding. She's actually just creating excuses to slow Krishna down. And then Krishna immediately, then they get the flower, and then Krishna decorates Radharani's hair with that flower, and they keep moving forward. And as they keep moving forward, finally Radharani says, she realizes no matter how many flowers I collect, Krishna will immediately collect. So she says, Krishna, we have walked quite a bit. Before that we danced. I'm tired. I can't walk any further. Now her hope at that time is that if Krishna says, okay, let's rest for some time. Let's sit down over here. So Radharani has said that at a relatively nice clearing in the forest where there's place to sit. But her internal thoughts are her internal thoughts. And from the external perspective, Krishna becomes annoyed. And Krishna says, because he says in a very stern voice, because this is a forest, I can't get a palanquin to carry you. So therefore, you climb on my shoulders and I'll carry you. And Krishna speaks in this angry voice. Radharani is just looking, where can we sit and where can we wait for the gopis to come? And she hears Krishna's, the angry tone in Krishna's voice. She becomes dismayed. She becomes alarmed. She turns around and she thinks, I'll have to clarify, I'll have to explain to Krishna what I'm doing. But to her utter horror, Krishna has disappeared. Krishna has completely disappeared at that time. So what has happened? Krishna, it appears as if Krishna has, Radharani understood what happened. Krishna thought that I had become too demanding, that I want this. Krishna, he says, Krishna thought that I had become proud, and that's why I was demanding so much, and that's why Krishna has left me and gone away. And at that time, what happens is she becomes devastated, completely devastated, and it's described as if she goes mad, and as if mad, she starts having a conversation with Krishna. Says, Krishna, please don't leave me and go away like this. Krishna, no. So Radharani says that, when Radharani says this, Krishna says that actually, I don't like pride in my devotees. No, whoever you are, if you become proud, I will leave you and go away. So Radharani says, Krishna, I was not proud. I was only concerned about the other Sakhis. And then Krishna says, if I wanted to be with you, why did you thwart my desire? No. I was just thinking how devastated they would be. So Krishna says, because you thwarted my plan, I am leaving you and going away. He says, no, Krishna, please don't leave me. I won't be able to live without you. So Krishna, now, is Krishna there in the bushes somewhere in an invisible form and Krishna is speaking? Or is this Radharani visualizing that Krishna is there? This is what Krishna is doing? Well, it could be both. Krishna, in one sense, is in her heart also. So she's speaking, and she's as if she's actually hearing the response. She's hearing Krishna speak back, and she's speaking. She's, Krishna, I will die if I'm left alone in the forest. So Radharani says that, so Krishna says at that time, the other Sakhis, I left them also. They are alive, they didn't die, so you will also not die. So Radharani says, but Krishna, at least they have each other. They can talk about you with each other and they can mitigate their suffering. But I am utterly alone. How will I live? Please come back. And Krishna says, no, they will come and meet you soon. And then suddenly, Radharani feels as if it's like suddenly everything has stopped. She feels as if Krishna has departed from there. It's like a complete emptiness outside and emptiness inside. And she becomes so shattered. She becomes so overwhelmed that it appears as if she just lost her life. And she crumbles to the ground. She crumbles to the ground in complete devastation, in complete agony. She crumbles to the ground in a state of being completely shattered, maddened, and she faints at that time. So in this way, when she faints, what is actually happening is, this kind of description is often is called as Divyonmad. Unmad is madness, Divya is divine. This is Divya Unmad. So the state of devotion, especially exalted devotion, what the gopis are describing. Actually, the other gopis also, soon they come there and we'll talk about it. The gopis are asking the trees, they're asking the birds, they're asking the bees, they're asking the flowers, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? Where's Krishna? So this is considered to be like an insane. It might seem like insanity, but it is actually, in one sense, the highest level of devotion. Let's try to understand this in quick terms. Are you seeing this normal same perception? The screen? Yeah. So now, why does it look like madness, but why is it not madness? This is our normal same perception. That means we as living beings are here, and there is the physical reality that we observe. We may observe a road, we may observe a car, we may observe a house. Now, when somebody starts becoming insane, when there is madness, what happens is that they imagine things. And the things they imagine, it will be like a centaur, a flying horse. They imagine so many things like that. Now you will see the arrow over here. This is thicker than the arrow over here. What that means is, a person's connection with their imaginary world becomes stronger than their connection with the physical world. At one level, we all sometimes act like mad. when we get too angry, when we get crave for something too much, when we become depressed. At those times, we all sometimes act as if we are, as if we're not disconnected with, not connected with reality. So this, but when that connection becomes too strong with our own mind's imagination, and our connection with reality becomes too little, that's when it's considered to be madness. But let's consider what is divine madness. See, divine madness is when there is the physical reality around us, then there is the imaginary world, but there is a spiritual world. So for devotees who are completely absorbed in Krishna, what happens is that their connection with Krishna becomes so strong. They're so absorbed in Krishna that they no longer connect with physical reality. And of course, the imaginary world is left far behind. They're not imagining. They're actually perceiving with their spiritual senses. They're experiencing Krishna directly. This is so now what happens is they are experiencing the highest reality. However, from a material perspective, from a materialist perspective, a materialist has no access to spiritual reality. They don't even believe that spiritual reality exists. So for those who think that the physical or the material world is the only thing that is real, for them, the spiritual and the imaginary seem to be the same. And that is why, to them, it appears as if the devotees, like say Radharani speaking as with no one over there, it's like madness. But it is not actual madness. It is spiritual madness. And it is the spiritual madness is the ultimate perfection of life. He Radhe Vrajadevi ke Challite. He Nanda Shuno Kutaha. The Goswamis are wandering around in Vrindavan, looking for Krishna. Hey Krishna, hey Radharani, where are you? That divine madness is the perfection of life. And it's very different from ordinary madness. However, it can be very easily misunderstood by uninformed people. So Radharani is exhibiting this kind of extraordinary madness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would also sometimes exhibit this kind of madness, where he would see Krishna everywhere. He would see Krishna in reflection. He would see Krishna. He was walking along a road and he look in a river and he would see Krishna. He would walking along a road and look behind a tree and he would see Krishna. So these are all exalted and extraordinary perceptions. So Radharani is seeing Krishna and Krishna has disappeared. And she completely faints at that time. Her body becomes almost like lifeless. And she just can't bear it. In fact, it is described that it's not that she literally, if she just faints, she could not have survived separation from Krishna. The agony would have been unbearable. Therefore, Yogamaya arranges to send Murcha Devi. Murcha Devi is the goddess of fainting. She comes and causes Radharani to faint. And that is how Radharani, by fainting, is no longer conscious of the pain that Krishna has left her, that Krishna has become angry with her and gone away. And it is at that time, the other gopis, they're searching, and they come. And then when they come at that time, they see Krishna, they see Radharani with Krishna. And when they see Radharani with Krishna, they see Radharani without Krishna rather. See Radharani lying unconscious, helpless. And they rush towards Radharani. And then they say, what has happened to this gopi? What? And they go to the nearby pond, get some water sprinkled on her face. And then they ask her what happened. And then they all tell what happened. And then they hear from her what happened. And initially, some of the gopis, not the intimate associates of Radharani like Vishakha, but other gopis, they had felt a little angry and jealous, transcendently jealous of Radharani. Who is the special person with whom Krishna has gone? Why has Krishna left us? Why has Krishna chosen her? They're feeling a little jealous, little angry, little unhappy with her. But when they see her plight, even when she's unconscious, they see her plight in separation from Krishna. And that makes them realize that she is such a great devotee. Her love for Krishna is so great, it's far greater than our love. And therefore, Krishna selected her and left us not because of partiality. It was reciprocity. What is that? Krishna is not partial, he is reciprocal. So partial means for no reason a particular person is favored. So partiality, the Lord is never partial, but he is definitely reciprocal. So when they understand that actually Krishna is favored, that Krishna has favored us because of, so if you consider Krishna's disposition, it is not partial but reciprocal. So partial is basically arbitrary favor or disfavor towards someone. That means, say if a cricket match is going on and umpire arbitrarily decides all the players of this team, whenever there's appeal, I'll say they're out, 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 out. Another player, no matter how much they're out, I will not say they're out. That is partiality, arbitrary favor or disfavor. That is partiality. But reciprocity is that basically offering oneself more because the other person has offered themselves more. What does this mean? It's like Shri Prabhupada once asked that, Prabhupada, do you love all your disciples equally? Prabhupada said yes. He said yes. And then he said, but if you come forward to render service, I reciprocate. What he means is parents will love all the children equally. But if some children are very, very mischievous and playful and frivolous, and other children are more responsible and trustworthy, and the parents can count on them, then while the parents will love everyone, beyond love is trust. I can count on this person, I can trust this person. There is a greater level of intimacy. And that's not partiality, that's reciprocity. So what happens is, does God have favorites? This is this question sometimes asked, is God partial? Does God have favorites? Well, yes, Krishna is a person and he has his favorites. But his favorites are not arbitrary. They're not arbitrary or partial. It's not his partiality, it's reciprocity. That does God have favorites? So Krishna's favorite Gopi is Radharani. But why is it she favorite? Because she has the greatest love for Krishna. And in that sense, that exalted love of Radharani toward Krishna is depicted over here. And when the gopis see how devoted she is, how mortified, how devastated she is in separation from Krishna, their envy, their animosity disappears. And when she comes back to consciousness, water is sprinkled on her and she starts speaking, and they start realizing how afflicted she is. Again, whatever little negativity they had toward her, remaining, it also goes away. So here, then all the gopis, they come together and then they start singing the Gopi Gita. They are going to call Krishna out desperately. They're going to call Krishna desperately. So we will discuss that part in a few minutes. But at this stage, as I said, there is a Gopi Gita is the Raslila is very confidential, but at the same time, it's also very universal. So at the external level, Krishna leaves the gopis because the gopis become proud, and Krishna leaves Radharani because Radharani becomes proud. At an internal level, it is their service attitude. The gopis' concern for Radharani's special glorification, and Radharani's concern that the gopis not be neglected. That's why Krishna goes away. That is the reason why they act in a way that Krishna goes away. So we will do a small exercise here before we move on to the next part. That is that in our interactions with others, have we ever assumed a particular motivation for their actions and later found that their motivation, you say a particular negative motivation for their actions, and later found that their motivation was far more positive. That means externally it appears as the gopis were proud, but actually they were not proud. So there could be some external reason. This is why this person is acting like this. But actually, later we found out why did person do that. It was very different reason. So it is a at one level a very practical kind of action, analysis. So we'll have about 5 minutes to do this, and then maybe some of you can share it. Okay. So it is 55 minutes into the session. Maybe Shiv Krishna Prabhu, you can announce when 5 minutes are over, and then we can start after that. Okay.
Sure, bro.
Thank you. Done?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. So Balganesh Prabhu is making a nice example over here that many devotees, they give a priority to preaching to people from IITs and IITs. Is that partial? But then later I realized that actually this is that way. If they become devotees, they can spread Krishna consciousness much further. Yes, we see Krishna, he could have spoken the Bhagavad Gita to anyone. But Krishna speaks the Bhagavad Gita to a Rajrishi, to Arjuna. Why? Because there will be a multiplier effect over there. Arjuna is a Kshatriya. If he internalizes those principles, and then he administers those principles to people in general, so he can be much more effective in society. So Panditaha Samadarshinaha is about Darshinaha. It is not Panditaha Samavartinaha. Vartinaha is that it's not the Pandita will act the same way with everyone. Why? Multiple reasons. If you have we can see a cat and a tiger as same. Now they are all both souls, but if a cat is nearby and we clap, the cat will run away in fear. The cat will go away. If we clap as a tiger, we may go away. The tiger will devour us. So we cannot be samavartinaha. It is samadarshinaha. So the vartan, the action, will depend on the situation. What is more important? What is most effective? So how can one best serve in a particular situation? So that expectation itself, that way, Prabhupada could have kept preaching in India itself. Why did he have to go to America? So he went to America because he found that people in India were imitating Americans, and that's how they would be inspired to take up Krishna Bhakti. So Yadyad Acharati Sreshtas. There are leaders in society, and those leaders, if they are helped, then they can help many other people, as Shiv Krishna is also quoting. Prabhupada also asked some similar question, and he was told that and he mentioned that say if there's a Red Cross emergency, then there are many people who are about to die, and whom do they save at that time? At one level, you could say the patients who are the most critically ill should be saved. But if there are hundreds of casualties on the war field, then in trying to save those who are severely wounded, who may not be saved despite the best efforts, in trying to save them, those who are slightly wounded or intermediately wounded, they may also be worse and they may also die. So sometimes hard decisions have to be made. A devotee would like to share Krishna Bhakti with everyone. But we are not Krishna. We are finite beings. We have limitations. So then that's why devotees make decisions. Where can I be most effective in my service? And accordingly, they share. Okay, that's a good point. Good example of external and internal. Then, yeah, Pitambar Baba was mentioning about how Lakshman is understood Bharat when Bharat came from the forest. Came to the forest. He came actually to ask Lord Ram to come back and take the kingdom. But Bharat thought that he has come with the whole army to kill Ram. So this is not just, you could say, understanding, getting a wrong understanding. It's almost getting the wrong to the ultimate degree. Exact opposite. The person is completely benevolent, is completely positive intention, and you thought of the completely negative intention. Nice example. Thank you. Yes, Krishna Rupa Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam Prabhuji. Prabhuji, once in Delhi when we were doing book distribution, so in a particular market, some of the devotees told us that, no, don't go to this particular market, We have done and, here now they don't take only books at all. So, you will not be successful going in this market. And for almost maybe for 6 months, whenever I used to feel like planning to go to that market. They used to say, no, no. It was a famous market actually near the temple only. So then once I said that let me go and try. So we, 2, 3 girls went over there and we tried. And within 2 hours, we were able to do very good book distribution. So then initially I thought that, oh, they were saying this way and all. Then we started going on a daily basis and we saw that, we were able to do good book distribution over there. So this is what I felt that, sometimes, there is a negative impression of a particular this, but we should actually always give it a benefit of doubt and go ahead. So this is my understanding of the statement that you have made.
Yeah, so somebody might, we all can, in this case, somebody else had a negative perception, but when we actually went in and explored, we found that negative perception was not justified. Yeah, that's a good example. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Any other last example before we move ahead? Okay. So now, when Krishna, when the gopis, okay, Shri Radhika, please share. You would like to share, please? Radhika Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, thank you very much, Chaitanya. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Always a pleasure to attend your classes. I always learn so much from you. Thank you so much, always, for taking time to do this. Thank you. So I just wanted to share. Sorry, I put my video on. So yeah, I just wanted to share that I live in Hong Kong, and here we have obviously the Indians and the South Asians are the minorities here. And so we have, of course, Hindu temples, and we also have a mosque. And there are many Muslims here as well. So one time I remember that we were going for a Damodar program at someone's home. And so another devotee and I, both ladies, we were carrying our harmonium, which was a bit heavy, but we were trying to carry it to the house program. And as we were walking there, we were struggling. Then this person came forward, and he was obviously Muslim because he was dressed in those garbs. So as he was coming to us towards us, I was quite I became a bit anxious, because we've had incidences before when devotees who are going for Mangal Aarti have been actually harassed by some of the Pakistanis and some of the Muslims here in Hong Kong. So I was a bit in anxiety as he started coming towards us, and I wasn't sure what to do. So my inclination was to go in the opposite direction, avoid him and just go in the opposite direction. But this person came to us and offered to help us to carry the harmonium to where we were going. And that's what he did. He carried the harmonium and he brought it to the place where we were going to have the kirtan program, Damodar program and everything. So it just made me realize that my first impression, seeing his attire and his, beard and everything, my first inclination was to avoid him. But had I done that, then we would have deprived him of an opportunity to do service to Lord Damodar, especially in the month of Kartik. So it made me realize that, how Krishna arranges things. And it was a great opportunity for this person to render some service, even though he's of a different faith and religion. And it was also a good reminder for me not to judge people, externally, and to give the opportunity of service to everyone. So just came to my mind when you were asking about this, and I thought it was really nice to share that, because we often, I think, certainly for me, sometimes we often judge people from the externals. So just wanted to share.
Thank you. Nice experience. It's, to some extent, we can say it's a normal human tendency to ascribe a particular mentality to a group of people And if we had particular experiences, then naturally we may do that. So it's at one level it's understandable, but another level, it's, if you look at it from our philosophical perspective, we understand that even within every group of people, especially if a large religious demographic we can consider, like say Islam, which is probably the second largest religion in the world. So there will be all kinds of people. There will be people in Sattva-guna, Rajoguna, and Tamoguna. There is some who will be intolerant, some who will be broad-minded. So yes, if we have had negative experiences, some amount of caution or hesitation is good, but that is different from like a permanent imposition of a label on a particular person.
Absolutely.
So that is so it was nice to see hear that experience. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So from this point, now the gopis are searching, they're desperately searching for Krishna. It's more, so they all come together. Radharani is revived, she's restored, and she also wants to find where is Krishna. And they start going deep into the Vrindavan forest. As they're going deeper and deeper, they're looking for Krishna, they're calling out to Krishna. They're not only calling out to Krishna, they are calling out to everyone around them, whoever they can see, whether it be the flowers, whether it be the bees flying overhead, the night bird that are there, or whoever is there, they're asking, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? And nobody seems to answer them. And as they keep going deeper and deeper into the forest, at that time, what happens is, it becomes so dark that they cannot even see their own hand over there. They cannot even see their own hand. And at this point, they decide that there is no point in continuing any further. And deciding that there's no point in continuing any further, they turn back. Now, when they turn back, it's actually, they're completely heartbroken. They're completely devastated at this point because they have left everything to come to Krishna. And they left their family, they left everything, they even left their own reputation. For a woman to go out at night, when those times it could be, they could be ruined. They left everything for the sake of Krishna. And yet, what happens is that when that happens and Krishna doesn't come back. So this actually is a reason for the gopis this is more than enough reason for the gopis to abandon Krishna, to reject Krishna, to give up Krishna. But they don't do that. Why don't they do that? Because for them, it is that Krishna is their ultimate Lord. In the Bhakti Sutra, it is said that, how do we know that there is real love? It says that when there is every reason for that loving relationship to be broken, and yet if the relationship is not broken, that indicates it is real love. There is every relationship for a person to abandon, but they still don't give up. So now if you consider from the point of the gopis, what all reason they had? They had left everything for Krishna. That itself is a big thing to do. So sometimes, now again, it's okay, let me emphasize this principle, which about when we look at these relationships, they are at one level very exalted and transcendental relationship, no doubt about it. And we don't want to in any way impose anything mundane on these transcendental relationships. At the same time, just because a relationship is transcendental doesn't mean that there is nothing for us to learn at a practical level from these relationships. No, there is a lot to learn. So the difference we could say is in terms of the object of love, that what makes a relationship transcendental is that the object of love is Krishna. And because the object of love is Krishna, that makes this relationship extremely special. It makes it completely extraordinary, the relationship. So, okay, here it is. Yeah. If you want to see, appreciate transcendental relationships, you'll see over here, one extreme is to see that we see those relationships as completely different from non-transcendental relationship, that their relationship is like ours. And if we see like that, it's a problem. That means we would think that, okay, my relationship is just like theirs. Then if that means Radha Krishna relationship is completely different from my relationship, then there is nothing I can learn from this relationship. On the other hand, if we say that they're completely like our relationship, then what is happening is there's a big difference, that those relationships are centered on Krishna, and that difference has to be recognized. That if we don't recognize that, then we will not attempt to redirect our love toward Krishna. So what is the balanced understanding is that there is similarity, there is bhed, and there is abhed. The bhed is that they are loving, the devotees are loving the ultimate reality. They're loving the ultimate reality. It's like, consider the mango. If I have to get a mango, I have to follow a particular process to get the mango. So whether the mango is sour or the mango is ripe, if it is up on the tree, I have to follow the same process of climbing up the tree to get the mango, whether the mango is raw or it is ripe. So similarly, the principles of relationship building, the principles of loving and serving and caring in the relationship, they are similar. The object of love is different, but the principle of loving is very similar. So what is happening over here is, if we understand these transcendental relationships, then we understand that what makes the relationship transcendental is that it's centered on Krishna. So we strive to center our love on Krishna. We try to love Krishna. At the same time, the principles that are there, they apply to all relationships. And we can learn to improve our relationships, or at least by a reference with our relationships, we can appreciate the glory of those relationships. So in one sense, what is happening is, sometimes in mundane romantic movies, say a boy and a girl decide to run away because maybe their family is not supporting. They say, we'll run away and we'll marry. And the girl runs away from her home and comes to meet the boy at the rendezvous point. And where they are supposed to meet, the boy just doesn't turn up. Or the boy comes and then goes away and leaves her alone in the lurch. Now this would be heartbreaking. And if the boy actually leaves her and goes away, and that too is called her to at a very secluded, very dangerous place, and he's left her all alone there, she will have every reason to be furious with him. I don't want to have anything to do with you. I don't want to see you at all. So if you consider from that parallel, it's a mundane parallel, but the principles of loving, the principles of risk and sacrifice and anger, they're all there. The gopis had left everything to come to Krishna, and then Krishna has left them and gone away. And the gopis are not, they're actually never proud. So when the gopis, Krishna has left everyone and gone away, the gopis have every right to be angry. They could be enraged and they could just reject Krishna and go away. But the test of their love is that they cannot reject Krishna. That for them, they can't live without Krishna. In the later literature, especially, it is described that when Krishna has left the gopis again and gone from Vrindavan to Mathura, at that time, the gopis, they realize every day they're waiting, when will Krishna come back? When will Krishna come back? When will Krishna come back? And when Krishna doesn't come back, finally the gopis decide that, now what is the use of this thinking about Krishna? It is only making us miserable. So we will stop thinking about Krishna. But what happens is they're not able to stop thinking about Krishna because their mind is wildly drawn toward Krishna out of their love for Krishna. And then the gopis decide, our mind is just going toward Krishna. What to do? We need to control our mind. We need to control our mind so that it will not go toward Krishna. And the gopis sit down to practice yoga. So normally we practice yoga so that we can fix our mind on Krishna. The gopis, they practice yoga so that they can take their mind away from Krishna. But just as when we try to take our mind away from the world, from politics and sports and news and this matter and that matter and that matter, and somehow mind keeps going back to those things. So for the gopis, it's like that. They try to meditate for some time, and then within a few moments before realizing it, their mind has already gone to Krishna. And they just can't control it. So the point is that the gopis have every reason to reject Krishna, but they just can't, they just won't, they can't live without him. So they all come back. And when they come back, they sit on the banks of the Jamuna, and then they all start singing the Gopi Geet. They sit on the banks of the Jamuna because that is the place where they have performed the most intimate pastime with Krishna. And Kavi Karnapura actually, he takes each verse of the Gopi Geet and he elaborates on that verse. He explains what is the mood behind this particular verse. What is the mood behind this particular verse? What is the mood behind this particular verse? And it's not just Kavi Karnapura and Ananda Vrindavana Champu is doing it. There are many other acharyas who have commented on this elaborately. I'm doing a monks podcast series where we are discussing this Gopi Geet with Madhvanand Prabhu and Amarendra Prabhu. We have had one almost 2-hour sessions on each verse of the Gopi Geet. And there's so much more to discuss that we decided we had to stop at 2 hours. So the gopis' heart is filled with love for Krishna and they're calling out desperately. And then when they're calling out to Krishna, then finally all the gopis complete their Gopi Geet. And that is, at that time it's described, it's interesting, it's described Gopya Uchu. That's why I talk about this confidential and universal. It is all the gopis are individuals, but still they are also a collective unit. So it's described that Ananda Vrindavana Champu describes that these 19 verses that are there, each gopi is singing one verse. And while she is speaking, she is expressing her heart, but simultaneously, she's also expressing the heart of the collective group. And then at that time, finally, when the 19th verse is sung, so each verse is essentially a different way, a different analysis, a different reasoning, a different perspective, but all concluding in the same point. It is, Krishna, please come back. Krishna, please come back. So in one sense, the 19 verses of the Gopi Gita are 19 ways in which 19 reasons the gopis are giving, Krishna, please come back. And then finally, Krishna appears. Now when Krishna appears, it's a Mahotsava, it's a festival for all the gopis. They're delighted. They take their own upper cloth, they make a nice seat in the middle of them, and they get Krishna to sit over there. Now, at this point, what has happened is that the gopis are both angry and fearful. They're both filled with anger and fear. Why anger? Because how could Krishna leave us like this and go away? And why fear? Because if they give in to their anger and they speak something strongly to Krishna, Krishna may go away again. It's like, say, if parents have a child and the child has run away from home for whatever reason. Now, when the parents find the child and the child comes back, they find the child basically, at that time, the parents are very happy that the child has been found and the child has come back. But at the same time, there is great fear. There's fear, there's anger. Why did you run away like this? Why did you put us in so much anxiety? And there is also fear. If you get too angry, the child may run away once again. We don't want that to happen. So what happens is the gopis adopt a style of anger, indirectly speaking. What they do is, they say, Krishna, let us talk about love. And there are different kinds of lovers. There are some people, when we love them, they reciprocate far more than what we are loving them. There are some people, we love them and they reciprocate as much as we have loved them. And there are some people, We love them, but they don't reciprocate at all. In fact, they do the opposite of what we are doing. So which among them is the best? Which among them is the real love? So what are they doing? Through this analysis, actually the gopis are telling Krishna, you are in the third category. We gave up everything to come to you, and you left us and went away. How could you have done like this to us? So which category of lovers are you? Which category of lover is the best? That question is there. You may say the answer is self-evident. The third is the worst. One who doesn't reciprocate at all, but does the opposite. Indirectly, they're saying, Krishna, how could you acted in the third category? How could you have been so heartless? So at that time, Krishna replies, and it's one of the most beautiful discourses on love. And Krishna says that actually, oh gopis, I went away from you just to increase your love for me. Just to increase your love for me. And this is where Ananda Vrindavana Champu is actually focusing on the 10th canto itself. But there are some places where there are references from the earlier cantos also. So the references from the earlier cantos means here that beautiful cyclicity between the cyclicity or the symmetry, between the first canto and the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam is described. That the Bhagavatam cyclicity is what? That if we see in the first canto, in the first canto, what happens is, there's Narad Muni in his previous life is, Narada is a boy. And he sees Krishna and then can't see anymore. And what happens is, that inability to see Krishna is what triggers his spiritual hunger, his spiritual thirst. And then Narada as a boy performs immense austerities lifelong, and then he leaves his body in the next lifetime, he becomes the great sage Narada Muni. So we could say the separation from Krishna fuels his spiritual journey to perfection. He has seen Krishna, then he can no longer see Krishna. So that separation, I must see Krishna. If he had not seen Krishna, that taste, that hunger, that longing wouldn't have come. But that came. And the separation from Krishna fuels his spiritual journey to perfection. Perfection is when he becomes a great devotee in the next life. So similarly for the gopis, what Krishna is saying is, your love is already so great, but I put you in separation from me. Separation from me, what it does is, it increases your love for me. The highest possible degree. Highest possible degree. So now what gopis you have done is, you have proven your love. You have shown that you are the highest, that your love is unparalleled. And therefore, Krishna says to the gopis that, I can't repay you. I can't repay you, gopis, for what you have done. And be satisfied with your own service. This is, Krishna says, because I can't repay you, therefore be satisfied with your own service. Kavi Karnapura, this is what the Bhagavatam says. Kavi Karnapura goes further and he says, Krishna says that no matter what I can do, I could perform austerities for thousands of lifetimes. And even after performing those austerities, I couldn't get enough pious or spiritual credits to be able to repay you. So, oh gopis, you have put me in such a debt that I am forever indebted to you. And there is no way for me to relieve myself of the debt. So here, in this declaration, is the ultimate inversion of the hierarchy. The ultimate inversion of human divine hierarchy. See, the whole Vraja Leela is actually this. This inversion is there. So what is the normal hierarchy? God provides us bread. Oh Father, the in heaven, give us our daily bread. But what is the inversion over in there? Yashoda provides milk to Krishna. So beyond that, we can say is that if you are going on a procession or something like that, we carry Krishna, we carry the deities, whether it is Rath Yatra or whether it is some procession, we carry deities on our hands or on our head or whatever. But the Gopas ask Krishna, the Gopas are carried by Krishna. When they play, what happens is, if Krishna is defeated, Krishna has to carry the Gopas. So that's the inversion. So there could be many levels of inversion, but the greatest inversion is that, see, normally we all are indebted to God. Our very existence is dependent on Krishna. That right now, I may say that, we all have certain abilities, we have worked hard, we have achieved certain things. So I may say I'm able to speak about Krishna because I have studied scripture carefully, I have memorized things, I have learned things. That's true. But who gave me my life? Who gave me my speaking ability? Who gave me my memorizing ability? It has all come from Krishna. In the Bhagavatam, it is said that if we actually understood how indebted we were to the super soul, the super soul has been with us lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, taking care of us, providing for our needs, and helping us in our journey for material existence. So we all are indebted to God for our very survival. Of course, we may have many desires which may not be fulfilled, and that's why we may say, what is there to be indebted to but God? But actually speaking, we are indebted to Him if we consider how many of the things that we already have, we depend on things beyond ourselves for those things. For breathing, we can't survive without breathing. And for breathing, we don't produce the air around us. We just get it. So we all are indebted to God with the ultimate inversion. And we are indebted in such a way that we can never pay God back. But in Vrindavan, what is happening is, God is indebted to the gopis. Here, specifically using the word God, we can use a specific word Krishna. Krishna is indebted to the gopis. And this is the ultimate human divine hierarchy inversion. Now of course, that who can do something for God, that God will become indebted. It's like when we offer something to Krishna, what happens is that it is our offering to Krishna is like a Ganga, like we go into the Ganga and offering. Our offering to Krishna, as we know, is like offering Ganga water to the Ganga. So it is what is taken from Krishna is given to Krishna. So, but there is one thing, and that also when you are offering to Ganga, that we are offering is a palmful. It's the small palmful of water we are offering. But that is considered worship. But in the case of the gopis, it's something different. It is described that Krishna controls everything in existence except one thing. Everything except one thing. And what is that? That one thing is our heart. Our heart, He doesn't control. That is up to us. It is, we have free will, and by that free will, we can choose to love what we want. And yet, this one thing which Krishna doesn't control, He wants this. He wants that one thing so much. He wants that one thing so much that He will do anything for it. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gita, this will be the concluding point we'll discuss, and this will be a carry home message also. So if you'll see in the Gita, in 7:18, Krishna talks about how 4 kinds of people who have come to Him in 7:16, and that He feels indebted. So this idea of being of God feeling indebted, it is definitely at the highest level in the gopis, but it is there at various levels. Its pointers to it are there. So here Krishna uses the word Udaraha sarva evaite jnanitvatmaiva mevatam astitah sayuktatma mameva anuttamam gatim. So he says Udaraha sarva evaite. Udara means all of them are. Udar can mean, it can be translated as broad-minded. Now Udar also means charitable. So Ramanujacharya in his Gita commentary takes this meaning, charitable. And he says now here people are coming to Krishna, they may because they want some money from Krishna, artho, or they're coming to Krishna because they are distressed and they want relief from distress, artharthi. So such people who are coming for their own purposes, why would Krishna consider them to be charitable? Rather, they should consider Krishna charitable because Krishna is fulfilling their needs. But Krishna is saying they are charitable. Why? Because Krishna feels whatever be your reason, at least you are coming to me. At least you are praying to me. At least you are offering one tiny portion of your heart to me. And because you are offering that, I'm so grateful to you. So Krishna doesn't see the motive why we are coming. He just sees that we are coming and he appreciates that. Of course, as we become purified, if you want to develop a steady relationship, we need to consider our motive and have a pure motive also. But the point is, even offering Krishna a part of our heart, that too for our own purposes, Krishna says that, oh, you're so charitable, you're doing this to me. You're doing this for me. I am grateful to you. Now then, what to speak of when the gopis, they offer their entire being to Krishna. When the gopis are going to Krishna, it's like sometimes we offer something to Krishna. And what do? We always want to make sure, and from practical perspective, that is understandable. What we do is we offer what we can without much difficulty. Okay, I have this much time and I have to do these things, and this much time I can spare apart from my family, professional responsibility. This much seva I can do. Okay, I have this much money and this much I need for this for this thing, and then this much money I can offer. Now, while we are functioning in the material world, yes, certain amount of caution, certain amount of balance is required. At the same time, when we talk about real love, there is actually no sense of balance over there. What do I mean by that? If a parent have a child whose life is at risk, their parents may be ready to put their whole house on mortgage. They may put all their savings. They may be ready to do anything and everything to save their child. So why? Because that's the nature of love. So usually we offer what we can without much difficulty. But when the gopis are offering, what are they doing? Many of you may have heard of this saying, we give God what is left, but we need to give God what is right. What is this left and right? Left means, okay, after I take care of all my needs, then what is left, I'll give to God. But what is right means, what actually the mood is that everything that I have belongs to Krishna. I offer everything to Krishna and then take back what I need. So give God what is right, not what is left. So that is the understanding. Now the gopis, when they are offering to Krishna, what are they doing? Actually, the gopis, when they come to Krishna, they are offering their entire being for their entire life to him. What does it mean? That means when the gopis are coming out, they are leaving their homes and coming. You could say that they are almost sealing their pact for their social ruin. There is no social life left for them. If they abandon their families and go away, then their reputation is ruined, their social acceptability is ruined, and they have nothing left at that time. So going back to the example of, say, mundane romance or something like that, sometimes there are two very opposite groups. These are typical stuff of romantic movies that, say, a Hindu boy, Muslim girl, or two castes are violently opposed to each other. And then there is somehow two people fall in love with that. Two dynasties have been long time fighting. And say when the girl leaves from this dynasty and goes to that dynasty, she has no chance of coming back. The parents say, you are dead to us. So take that to a far greater degree. And the gopis, they are going to be ruined when they leave everything and go to Krishna. So yet they are ready to do that. They are ready to accept social ruination completely for going to Krishna. And they are not made like a contingency plan. What I'm going to do if this happens, that happens, nothing like that. Completely they are given themselves to Krishna. And yet at that time, Krishna rejects them. And that time they have every reason to reject Krishna. But they don't, they stay on. They stay on. And that wins Krishna's heart. That wins Krishna's heart so much that Krishna says that I'm indebted to you. I cannot do anything for you. Therefore, he says, now the Ananda Vrindavana Champu and other commentators say that the only thing I can do for you is that I can offer myself to you. So he says, Krishna, he says to the gopis, I will forever reside in your heart. I'll forever reside in your heart. And in that way, I'll reciprocate with you. Now you may say, isn't Krishna already there in their hearts? Yes, he's there. But Krishna himself makes his arrangement. He says, maybe gives us assurance. So the gopis are always enriched with Krishna's presence and Krishna's love. In that sense, by Krishna's reciprocation. So this is, now of course, when the gopis take this risk and they go, there is social ruination. Krishna makes arrangements. Krishna protects. So what happens is that the gopis don't have any contingency plan, but Krishna has a contingency plan. So Krishna's contingency plan for the gopis is what? He arranges, there's a description that there are 3 kinds of bodies. So what are these 3 kinds of bodies? It's especially this. So when some gopis are unable to come to Krishna because their family members stop them, and they leave their bodies and come to Krishna in spirit. So these are described to be the gopis who are not yet completely purified. They are done sadhana, they have come to the perfection of being in Krishna Lila, but they're not yet completely purified. So those bodies, they leave and they attain Krishna in spirit. Then the other is that the gopis in their transcendental bodies come to Krishna, and gopis in their, you could say, some kind of illusory bodies stay with their family. Stay with their family means what? That it is described in the whole Raslila ends. So Krishna tells them, I'm indebted to you. I went away from you just to increase your love, and you conquered my heart. And then the gopis say, enough talking, now let's perform Raslila. And they start dancing. They have that magnificent celebration of love. And then when the Raslila ends, it goes on and on and on and on. It describes that one night of the Raslila extends to become one night of Brahma. And they're dancing and dancing, and they're performing pastimes, and it's endless. But finally, it ends. And then when the gopis return, the gopis are so ecstatic of having been with Krishna, that they don't even think, oh, we are going back to our homes. What will our family members say? How will they accept us? Just like Sudama, when he was with Krishna, he was so ecstatic that he forgot to ask Krishna for any financial help. And even when he was coming back, till the last moment, it didn't strike him also, oh, what will I tell my wife? I didn't get anything from Krishna. He doesn't even think about it. He's so ecstatically absorbed in Krishna. So similarly, the gopis are so ecstatically absorbed that when they come back, they don't even think, what are we going to say to our family members? But Krishna has made a contingency plan. And what is that? Krishna has arranged that some kind of, like there is Maya Sita or Chaya Sita. So like that, there are Maya gopis, Chaya gopis are there. And so what happens, their family members think that, oh, the gopis heard Krishna's flute and they wanted to go, But we stopped them and they stopped and they didn't go. So they are so faithful to us. They could have gone to Krishna, but they didn't go to Krishna. And in that way, what happens is their family members think that they didn't go. So those chaya forms, which are manifested by Yogamaya, they stay with their families. And that's how the gopis' reputation is not ruined. Their family relationships are not ruined. But the gopis didn't know this. The gopis had no guarantee that Krishna was going to do this for them. Without any such guarantees, they went and surrendered to Krishna. This is the gopis' supreme love. And no wonder Krishna feels completely conquered by that love. So Kavi Karnapura concludes Ananda Vrindavana Champu on the note he just can't bear. Kavi Karnapura is from Bengal, and the Bengali Vaishnavas generally, there is a literary genre and there is a devotionalism. Again, what we can call it as. So he ends his book with Vrindavan, with Vrajalila only. He doesn't describe the non-Vrajalila. So why is that? Because he can't bear to describe the agony of the Vrajavasis. How would the Vrajavasis live in separation from Krishna? He can't bear to describe that. So for the Vrajavasis, it is as if when Krishna left, they died. And it is not just for they died, but for Krishna also, it is not easy to live Vrindavan. Not easy to live Vrindavan. So to leave all the Vrajavasis, to the Gopas, the Gopis, the cows. So it is like a part of Krishna. Krishna is immortal now. Part of him is part of Krishna. But it was like a part of him was left behind. A part of it died over there. So Kavi Karnapura couldn't describe it at all. And that's why he ends with Krishna. He doesn't talk about Krishna Vrindavan pastimes. Just dives into the Vraja pastimes and keeps relishing them more and more. So for all of us, the Rasla pastime, I'll conclude with one last lesson about this universal and confidential, that just as the gopis cared that when gopis were with Krishna, what happened is they thought Radharani is special and her speciality should be noticed. But Radharani didn't think that, I am special and I should be special. The other gopi should also be noticed. So what happens is, as devotees, we need to be supporting each other. If some devotee has done some special service, other devotees bring it to the highlight of the spiritual master or the senior devotee. Oh, this devotee has done all the service. And that devotee should be thinking, no, not I did a service. They all helped me. But that way, the interactions will become very sweet. Also, just like the gopis, they had every reason to reject Krishna. And they didn't reject Krishna. So similarly, for all of us, in the journey of our lives, we will also feel, we may also, when we feel abandoned by Krishna, we face problems. And when we face problems, sometimes what happens is, now there are many different kinds of problems we may face. We have problems in our family life, in our professional life. And each of these problems is very difficult to face. But for devotees, more than say family or financial or professional problems, or say health problems, could have professional or health problems. Each of these problems can be a test of our faith. I have been practicing bhakti. I want to serve Krishna. If my family situation is good, my financial situation is good, all these will help me to serve Krishna better. But why are these things happening? Why are these happening to me? We can see that this is a test. Now these are all difficult enough to face. But we can say, oh, at a philosophical level, probably I must have done some karma because of which I got these things back. Got these things, and I just have to endure it. Tam Siksha Bharata. That's understanding. But what becomes most difficult for a devotee to face is when we feel abandoned by Krishna, in terms of what happens is we feel spiritual emptiness. That means we chant and there's no taste at all. We do kirtan and it feels completely hollow. We study scripture, we feel as if as if Krishna is not present in our life at all. We have no sense of connection with Krishna. So what do we do at that time? How do we function? This is a very difficult situation to be in. And in the Christian tradition, this is called as the dark night of the soul. So for the gopis, it was literally a dark night. The Vrindavan was when they're deep inside the forest, although there was the moon earlier, but as Krishna disappeared, the Sharad Purnima moon also disappeared behind clouds. The gopis are completely in darkness. So this is a dark night of the soul, when at least I have problems, I can pray to Krishna and take shelter of Krishna. But when the problem is that when I'm chanting and I don't feel the presence of Krishna, the gopis had left everything for Krishna and Krishna was not there. So we put aside everything else, we sit and hear Bhagavatam, we put aside everything else and chant the holy names, we do our worship of the deities, but we don't feel Krishna at that time. That may well be the greatest test of our spiritual life. And if at that time we persevere, the gopis were not feeling, Krishna was not with them, but they kept chanting. They kept singing the Gopi Geet, and Krishna did appear eventually. So when we feel spiritual emptiness, if we persist, so just as the gopis persisted through prayer, they persisted with prayer and Krishna did appear. And when Krishna appeared, they became even more enriched by Krishna's presence. So we will also explain increased devotional enrichment as a result for us. So that is what we all can pray for. When Prabhupada was on the Jaladuta, at that time he got a heart attack, and not one but 2 heart attacks. And naturally at that time he had no other resources except his Bhagavatam set and his basic body, which was going to be the resource. At that time it would have been devastating, but then Krishna appeared in a dream, mystical vision, in a dream, and told him, I have made arrangements, go ahead. So Prabhupada was devotionally enriched by that. For all of us, we also may, when we face difficulties, when we feel empty, when we feel abandoned, when we feel helpless, when we feel overwhelmed, at that time, just as the gopis didn't give up their faith in Krishna, didn't give up their longing for Krishna, but persevered. They sat down at one place and sang the Gopi Geet, calling out to Krishna, beseeching him, begging him fervently to come. And Krishna did come. So the Lord will return, and the Lord will not only return, but we will be much, much more enriched by the Lord's return. That is the supreme blessing that we can get by hearing about Krishna, and especially hearing about the topmost love between the gopis and Krishna, and especially Radharani and Krishna. So I'll summarize what we discussed today. I discussed primarily the 4 themes. Four themes. First was discussed about how when the gopis, they leave everything and they go to the forest to be with Krishna. At that time, there are internal and external reasons for the gopis' departure, for gopis acting as if they are proud. There are internal, and we need to understand that multiple things happen at multiple levels. And then we discussed about the point of the spiritual experience as madness. What is this madness? One is madness, and spiritual madness can appear similar, but they are very different. Because one is lost in imagination, the other is absorbed in spiritual reality. And then after that, in the gopis' return, gopis' reunion with Krishna, in that connection, we discuss the Gopi Geet being sung, and Krishna, when he comes back, they discuss this question on love. So the gopis had every reason to abandon Krishna. Krishna himself had called them and then abandoned them, misunderstood them and abandoned them. So they could have rejected him, but they did not. That is the glory of their love. Their love is so glorious that Krishna became indebted to him. So the gopis had no contingency plan, but Krishna had a plan for them. And Krishna protected their reputations also. So we discussed one perspective, the exaltedness of the gopis' love, the firmness, the unflinchingness of their love, unflinching nature of their love. And the last part was how when Krishna feels indebted, Krishna uses similar mood of udaraha even for a sadhaka who is just coming to him even for worldly purposes. Because Krishna wants our heart. And even if a part of our heart we give to him, he feels indebted by that. So with that conviction in mind, we all can follow in the footsteps of the gopis. It is at a very confidential, esoteric level, but at a universal level also. While the relationships themselves are centered on Krishna, and then says that in that sense they are transcendental, but in another sense that the principles of loving are universal. And when we face material difficulties or when we face spiritual emptiness, if we persist through prayer the way the gopis persisted, we will all be immensely devotionally enriched, just as the gopis were, by Krishna's ever all attractive evergreen presence. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I was requested to do I was asked to do a quick summary of what we discussed in Ananda Vrindavana Champu overall. So, okay, let's take one or two questions before we go there. How could Krishna have misunderstood the gopis? Well, Krishna did not misunderstand. Krishna was, in one sense, testing the gopis. So, Krishna acted as if he had misunderstood, so that the gopis' love would be demonstrated to the world. Just like Krishna knew that even when Bhishma had decided that I will kill Arjuna, he had made the proclamation, he had no intention of actually killing Arjuna. He only wanted Krishna to demonstrate his love for Arjuna. So Krishna didn't misunderstand. It was a part of the Leela. Yes, Bal Ganesh Prabhu. You have a question, Bal Ganesh Prabhu? Okay. Yes, Naman Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, so I had a question. Are we getting the recordings?
Yes, Shiva Krishna Prabhu is providing the recordings. If you are in the WhatsApp group, you'll get the recordings.
But Prabhuji, I cannot see the last 4 recording.
Shiva Krishna,
I can repost if you have missed it, Mataji.
You can repost it.
Yeah, I will do that.
Thank you.
So, thank you, Naman Prabhu, for your goodness. So,
I think Bal Ganesh Prabhu again have a question.
yes, Bal Ganesh Prabhu.
Can you hear me now, Prabhu? Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhu, but I had a mic problem.
Yeah, tell
Can
me.
you hear me now, Prabhu?
Yes, yes.
Prabhu, my question is, so it's very difficult while we are persisting our difficulties or when feeling the spiritual emptiness. We are praying, but still the quality of prayer is poor, Prabhu. Means when through your lecture we came to know that when gopis were in separation, their quality of prayer is much more enriched. But whereas in our case, we are persisting, but still that intensity or that ferventness prayer is not coming. So can you?
That's why association. We cannot, bhakti cannot be a solo journey for very long. We need some supportive association. We need to experience Krishna's love. If you're not experiencing Krishna's presence directly through our sadhana bhakti, then we need to experience it through the association. That's why the gopis were together. And that's why Radharani's reason, if I'm all alone, I will die. So we need association. We need association. In the supportive association, we experience Krishna to some extent. We experience Krishna's love, we experience Krishna's wisdom, and that gives us the strength to move on.
Okay, Prabhu. And one more small doubt, like this similar asking of questions when Krishna disappeared, the gopis went on asking to creepers, leaves and all. So same kind of situation happens in Rama Leela also, like when Sita disappeared, Rama will keep on asking everyone. So there Prabhupada writes in purport that would be the case when we are too much attached to material relationships. So how to understand this dichotomy, Prabhu?
Yeah, so there are two things over here. That that Lord Ram, his attachment is not material attachment. It is to Sita, who is the goddess of fortune. So that is transcendental. But from that transcendental relationship, as I said, the principles of loving are similar. So the Bhagavatam is spoken to Parikshit Maharaj, who is about to die, and he's renounced the world. And the whole Bhagavatam narrative is spoken in such a way that one who has turned away from the world should get no second thoughts. So time and time again, renunciation is a lesson that is described, that is emphasized. So from that perspective, the whole Ramayana is retold in a very summary format in the Bhagavatam. And they said that okay, if a person acts like this, that illustrates, that is like a person who is materially attached. That doesn't mean Lord Ram is materially attached. His condition is transcendental, but his condition can give us a replica of what our condition would be if we became too attached. Okay? So it's an example from the transcendental domain to illustrate a material principle. That is not material.
So thanks, sir. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes. So let me quickly summarize. Sandhya Mataji, maybe we can have that question some other time. I don't want to go too over time. So we had 5 sessions of Ananda Vrindavana Champu, and in the first session, I introduced the Ananda Vrindavana Champu and we discussed the Putana pastime. So this is how Putana, she lowered the guards of everyone, the males and the females, with her beauty and with her maternal moods, but then she had malevolent intention. And how Kavi Karnapura describes that, especially with respect to that pastime, is describing how Putana lowered she's the only god, demoness, who actually came into Vrindavan with the vision of the Vrajavasis, and almost with their consent, she attacked Krishna. So that is her capacity to delude. So in that connection, we discuss how merciful Krishna is, that he looked beyond the malevolent action to her service intention. It's very small. Then we discuss the Kaliya pastime, where Krishna, there's a second session where Krishna expertly danced on Kaliya, and he brought all the Vrajavasis together. And he in one sense, that is one pastime where Krishna acted powerless till Radharani came. And when Radharani came, then he started dancing fully. And then that was from that point of Radharani's platform, we discussed primarily what is the center of the Ananda Vrindavana Champu. So we discussed the awakening of the Purva Rag in the third session. And then where Radharani thought actually there are 3 people whom I attracted. One was such a good flute player, one was such a fragrance, and the other was such a wonderful form. And her relief was enormous when she actually came to know that it's all one. And the Radharani, we discussed the past of Radharani cooking for Krishna, and how by cooking once for Krishna, extending herself to cook once for Krishna, she got the opportunity to cook for him regularly by Yashoda Mai's request at Pawan Sarovar. And then in the 4th and 5th sessions, we discussed the Ras Leela. In the 4th session, the Ras Leela was discussed in comparison with the Yagik Brahman Patnis. Both of them were told to go, Gopis and the Yagik Brahman Patnis were told to go back. Both of them were exalted in the sense that they left everything to come to Krishna. The Yagik Brahman Patnis went back, the Gopis did not. So slowly we are moving toward understanding the superlative devotion of the Gopis. And today was a discussion of their complete self-giving to Krishna, and Krishna's feeling eternally indebted to them for their offering of their entire selves to him. So thank you very much for your participation. So Shri Ananda Vrindavana Champu ki jai.
Yeah.
Kavi Karnapura ki jai.
Yeah.
Prabhupada ki jai.
His guest Chaitanya Charan Prabhu ki jai. Thank you very much for such a beautiful seminar on the Vrindavana Champu. Such a difficult topic, very intrinsic, and you have managed to give 5 important sections of this so beautifully.
Thank you for arranging it through, and thank you to everyone for participating.
Indebted to your time and effort that you have taken for all of us. and beautiful slides as well you have presented to all of us.
Happy to be of service. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, any other questions we can discuss afterwards, but just continue hearing about Krishna. This is a glimpse of what awaits us ahead. If you have heard Ananda Champu, what is the next thing you can do? Well, read the Bhagavatam, come to the level where you can read the 10th canto. I have the Gopi Geet series of podcasts which you are doing. You can hear those also if you like. But most importantly is that all this can give us a taste for the Bhagavatam, culminating in taste for Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you.